Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's Virtual Cafecito presented by Moms Clean Air Force, Eco Madres, and our partner, Corazon Latino. I think you're really going to enjoy tonight's conversation about remote learning in the pandemic age. As moms, even in the best of times, we are constantly juggling family and professional responsibilities and trying to maintain some sort of balance. But in 2020, that juggling act has become even trickier, as many of us work from home, try to assist our children with remote learning, and worry about our Wi-Fi connections, our kids' access to and understanding of the technology they're now required to use every single day. Even the idea of screen time limitations have gone completely out the window. But a stable internet connection and dedicated computer for every child is not something every family in this country has access to. And so tonight, we're taking you to Las Vegas, Nevada for a conversation between Las Vegas City Councilwoman Olivia Diaz and our Las Vegas field organizer, Cinthia Zermeño Moore. They'll be discussing the steps that Councilwoman Diaz has been taking to support her community and ensure equal access to remote learning. Councilwoman Diaz represents Vegas's Ward 3, a seat she has held since 2019. Previously, she was Nevada Assemblywoman from representing District 11. She has a master's degree in bilingual education and lives in Las Vegas with her husband and son. Cinthia Moore, our Las Vegas field organizer, she has been advocating for clean air and water for over 10 years. She has served on the Parks and Recreation Board for the city of North Las Vegas, where she advocated for more access to green spaces. And now I'll let them take it from here. Thanks again for watching.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome, Moms Clean Air Force members, and welcome to our partners at Corazon Latino. Today, I'm really excited because we have a special guest for our cafecito. We have Las Vegas City Councilwoman Olivia Diaz. And I'm really excited to have her here with us today because she is my councilwoman. And before that, she was my assemblywoman. So I'm really excited to have her here. But before we go on, I wanted to tell you a little bit about her. Councilwoman Diaz won her election to the Las Vegas City Council Ward 3 in June 2019. She is amongst the first Latina women to represent Las Vegas City Council. She is the daughter of two hardworking immigrant parents. The councilwoman grew up with 6 siblings, where she quickly learned the value of hardworking and taking risks and standing up for what is right. Councilwoman Diaz is a former member of the Nevada State Assembly, representing District 11 from 2010 to 2018. In the 2013 session, the councilwoman served as the Majority Assistant Deputy Whip. Currently, she is seated on the board of the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority, the Southern Nevada Health District, as well as the Nevada Workforce Connections Board. Throughout her life, Councilwoman Diaz has overcome obstacles and embraced the challenges that she has faced. She values the importance of doing what is needed to make our community better for future generations. And today I am honored to have her here because she is someone that we're really proud of here in Las Vegas. Councilwoman, can you please tell us a little bit about Ward 3 for the folks that are not familiar with the area?
Of course. Thank you so much, Cinthia, for inviting me to be part of this program today. And un saludo a todos los que nos están sintonizando. Un gusto estar con ustedes. A little bit about Ward 3 here in the city of Las Vegas. It's 60% plus Latinos in my ward. It's the ward in the city of Las Vegas that has the highest number of Latinx in its jurisdiction. And I was born and raised here in Las Vegas, especially on the east side. So this ward has a very, very special place in my heart. And that's why it was my desire to run for this office and represent the community. And I'm very proud to be the very first Latina to have this opportunity. En parte, siento que mi habilidad de hablar español puede ayudarnos a conectar las oficinas aquí de la cabecera municipal con nuestra gente. So I do not take this responsibility lightly of being the first Latina councilwoman because I can then communicate in Spanish with my constituency and in English, of course. I represent everybody, but So many times our community gets left behind because they don't get the information in the language that is easiest for them to understand the messaging or the processes that we're trying to convey. So what else about my ward? We're a very hard-working ward. A lot of my constituents work in the service industry. A high percentage of them hold service sector jobs. And for example, like my dad, he was a proud member of the culinary union for 36 plus years. The same is true about a lot of my residents that are currently waiting to be called back to work because, of course, as we're living COVID-19 times, not everybody has been called back to work yet in Las Vegas because of the limit in how many people can be at the casinos. That impacts how many people can be at work at the same time too. So therefore, we financially are limping along as a ward because many people, unfortunately, their unemployment benefits have lapsed. Maybe two of the traditionally working folks in the house have not been called back to work, or one of them has been called back to work, but on a limited schedule. So right now we are facing, some unforeseen hard economic times. And then, of course, to add to all of this, we are doing distance virtual learning with our kids. Our kids are not back physically in classrooms. They're doing everything via the computer, just like we are engaging you right now. That's what my 4th-year-old is going through every day. And right now, it's become one of my passions as a former educator to make sure that every single child that needs to be connected is. And that's where a lot of the work right now is concentrating our efforts. It's been 4 weeks into the school year. And we still have kids that haven't shown up for the very first day of school, or there's still kids that we don't know why they haven't registered for school either. So trying to find out where they are and make sure that they have everything to be okay this school year.
Yeah, I have seen you are really, really busy with our community. I know that you have always been involved with our community, and you have always been there ready to provide information and help folks in our district and our ward. What do you think is the greatest challenge that our community is facing with distance learning?
I think that the greatest challenge is one, the connectivity issue. In my ward, it's one of the areas where the connectivity is scarcer. The infrastructure is older, and obviously if people are going through very difficult economic situation, then the thought of having to pay for that connectivity is one that you might think is not a reality. But what I want folks that are seeing this to know today is that as a community, we've come together, and a committee has been formed called Connecting Kids. And they are here to basically help us get over this hurdle and this thought that we can't afford connectivity. So it's our ambition to make sure that every child that needs to be connected for school purposes is connected. And all they need to do is call the Connecting Kids hotline. And this is sometimes the ability to connect to their school sometimes is being hindered because they don't have the actual device. So they don't have a Chromebook, they don't have a laptop, they might not have the connectivity. And so that's why Connecting Kids was established, just to make sure that they do have the equipment, that they do have the Wi-Fi, so that they can be present in their classes every day. Y un poquito en español es que nuestra ambición es que todos los niños estén conectados este año escolar para que ellos puedan continuar sus clases. Sabemos que este año todos lo estamos haciendo mayormente por computadora, y está un programa establecido para ayudar a familias de bajos recursos a que se mantengan conectados. Cox está ofreciendo cuentas de conectividad sin costo para nuestras familias, pero sí tienen que aplicar y tienen que llenar toda la información para que puedan calificar. ¿Quiénes son los que califican? Who qualifies for Connecting Kids free internet service? So it has to be families who have children kinder through 12th grade who are eligible for the free lunch, free or reduced lunch program. If they qualify for Head Start, SNAP, WIC, TANF, if they are in public housing assistance, or they receive a Section 8 project-based rental assistance, they all qualify. So they just need to call their number at 1-888-616-2476, and there are bilingual operators standing by to help our families navigate through this process and make sure that if they can't afford to pay for this internet, that Cox is able to provide it for kids free of charge.
Wow, that's really good information. I know that there's some folks out there that are really worried about their kids and then having to juggle their employment for those that have been called back to work. I know as a mom, I mean, my son's only 3 years old, but this was the year that I was planning on enrolling him in pre-K, but because of COVID and he's 3, I didn't think he would be able to benefit from distance learning at all. And I know that you're a mom yourself and you're a councilwoman and you're busy, busy, busy. How has that distance learning, how have you been able to handle that?
It's a balancing act with my job as a city councilwoman and having a very supportive husband that's working from home. So we definitely try to make sure that one of us is there, keeping an ear out mostly, not interjecting ourselves into my son's daily school, because I think they need to know that that school experience is them and their class, that I'm not there to micromanage my son's learning, that I'm there to support and make sure that he's staying focused, that he is connected. For example, one day the internet connectivity in my house dropped, like I'm sure so many of my residents are experiencing. And it was initially in the very first couple of weeks, because I think, the system was not used to the amount of people probably hopping all at once to get this distance education experience. And so I immediately proceeded to switch his Wi-Fi connectivity when my house one went down to my hotspot on my cell phone so that he wouldn't miss a beat. But I do not tell him how to answer. I do not look over his shoulder and criticize how he's responding, because I want him to be confident and I want him to know that that's his space, that's his learning time, and he needs to be processing the information, not me. His dad and I have our own jobs to do. So hay que respetar, hay que darles sus espacios, pero asegurarnos como padres que nuestros niños estén poniendo atención, porque sé que a veces en la computadora ellos se pueden desviar, pueden estar viendo otras cosas, y queremos asegurarnos que, uno, estén concentrados en las lecciones, pero dos, que terminen los trabajos que se les asignan, porque esos trabajos son lo que va a meritar sus calificaciones. So if they're not doing their schoolwork and they're not following through after the lesson, that can hinder their grades and their ability to go on to the next grade, right? So we want to make sure our kids are equally prepared. And I ran into some Rancho High School students on Mexican Independence Day this past week. And I'm a proud Rancho grad. Woo, woo, go Rams. And I was checking in with them. How was virtual learning working for high schoolers? And they were like, they're giving us way more work than if we were in person, miss. And I was like, So they feel overworked. So we as parents need to make sure that they're pacing themselves and that they are getting their assignments completed, because that's a big part of their grade. So attendance is important and hearing the lessons, but so is the follow through.
Right. And I totally get what the high school students were saying. I remember when I was going to college and I was working full time, sometimes I would take online classes, and I always felt like that was a lot more work than actually going in person.
And I am hearing from teachers in high school that because of the stressful financial situation that parents may have, some students are having to step up to help support the families too, especially for our mixed immigration status households. And so a lot more of our high schoolers are probably in the workforce and having to navigate going to virtual school as well. So they do have a lot on their plate right now, and I just hope that we can come together and offer them support and motivation and tell them they can get through this. It's about organizing and structuring their time and being efficient with it. You don't get minutes back in a day. But I think that once you get a handle on, this is my work schedule, then I'll rest a little bit and eat, and then I'll do my homework or tune into what I might have missed while I was working. Everything you can accomplish all, work and school. It just takes a little bit of coordination.
Right, and it does take a little bit of time to get used to it. I did see on social media that you were really busy this weekend and that you joined several Latino elected officials in canvassing our neighborhoods to give information on the resources that they can access for education. How are those efforts going? What are people saying at the door? And are there any other efforts or initiatives taking place?
I think for the most part, everyone is receptive and appreciative of getting the information. So that was connecting kids. So kids who haven't been registered for school or don't have the technology, whether it be the Chromebook device or the connectivity, we're trying to tell them they have access to that and they don't need to worry about financially not being able to give it to their children. That the school district has the device and Cox is willing to step up and provide that internet access, but they do have to qualify and they have to actually apply for it. So it's not something that's given immediately, but we need to follow through and complete an application process for. I think that, some folks are obviously stating a little bit of frustration with the connectivity and the coming and the going of being able to stay connected. But again, I want to just emphasize that you should be calling your Wi-Fi provider, whether it's Cox or CenturyLink here. Make sure that you're calling them and letting them know about what's happening with your internet, because sometimes it'll be on, sometimes your router will be red and the lights will be blinking, and that's the time to pick up the phone and call Cox or CenturyLink customer service. They need to know that those nodes or those areas are having issues so they can deploy a technician and figure out what's going on. Because if you're suffering, probably your neighbor is too. And I know that as a councilwoman, I've been telling them, please, if you're noticing issues, we'd appreciate the support in getting the speeds up to date for a lot of our kids. They can't afford to miss out on their educational opportunity this year. So just highly encouraging everyone to be proactive. Sometimes we just kind of lament it, but we don't actually let people know that it's happening to us. We don't report it. We have to be proactive and be reporting the poor connectivity or the poor service that we're getting and interruption in our kids' educational day. We also have been trying to tell parents that there is support if they're not sure, because there's two programs that here in Clark County School District kids need to use for their school day. One is Canvas, and that's the more assignment heavy end of it. And the other one is Google Meet. And so if parents are still having an issue, especially for the kindergartners and the first graders, that they themselves need the walking through, they need the support, there is a family learning line that parents can call, and they are more than happy to walk you through any process, get you connected to your school, to your teachers. And that family learning line is 702-799-6644. Again, there are bilingual operators on the line and they will help you en inglés o en español. Y simple y sencillamente estamos diciendo que también muchos papás necesitan el apoyo para ayudar a sus pequeñitos, a los que están en prekinder, kinder y primer grado. Y hay una línea de aprendizaje en el distrito escolar donde pueden llamar los padres y se les da la ayuda. 702-799-6644 es la línea donde usted puede llamar y le van a poder ayudar si usted no sabe qué es la diferencia entre Google Meet y Canvas y cómo apoyar a su pequeñito durante el día, porque sé que muchos padres están ayudando a sus pequeños. So I just want to congratulate all the parents that are staying the course. Working from home and helping your kid from home is not an easy task, but we need to be supportive of this effort in order for our kids to get the best out of the school experience this year.
Yeah, I know it's difficult for many people having to juggle working and also the distance learning and just everything that goes with it. I know I live in your ward. I know at the beginning of the school year, I noticed that my speeds were slowing down, and I noticed my internet was going in and out. And honestly, I didn't think about calling Cox. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna keep restarting my router and hope for the best. But that's really good advice. I know that I need to do that next time that happens.
Because I'm not too far from you, so if you do your
Right.
part and you're calling in and I'm calling in, the heat map for them is going to start to light up, and they're going to figure out that they have a problem area there they need to address.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. It's just one of those things that you don't think of. It's just like, oh my gosh, my internet's out, it's not working, and we have so many things going on that we don't necessarily think to pick up the phone and call them to let them know about that issue. But you're right.
I was going to say, and you're probably more sophisticated and probably download the Cox app. They actually have an app, and there's a way you could put technical issues in there too. Because every time I pick up the phone and I call the number, they're always like, we're experiencing high wait times. And so sometimes the app may be a more efficient way to communicate these troubles and these network issues.
Yeah, I do have the app. I didn't think about using it that way. Normally, when I do have to deal with customer service, I do go through the app.
See, I'm old school still. I still pick up the phone and dial. But for those millennials and younger folks than me that know all about apps, that's why I wanted to put in a good word for the apps. Because I know that when I was having that issue, I was reaching out to a few folks I know in the space, and they're like, do you have the app? Have you tried to use it? And I was like, no, I have not downloaded that app. It's on my to-do list.
Yeah, I downloaded it. I just didn't think about using it for that, for letting them know. Normally, if I have an issue, I use it to chat with someone or text back and forth. I'm not really someone that loves to be on the phone a whole lot.
I'm just old school. So you mentioned the working family too, and I was going to bring that up, that as parents get called to go back to work, and maybe, fingers crossed, I'm hoping that happens sooner rather than later for so many of our families that need to continue to, be able to provide the basic necessities for their families. The city of Las Vegas does have the Vegas Strong Academy. It is for kids in grades 1st through 8th grade, or I think kinder. I need to make sure I'm reading my notes here, but K through 8, yes. So it's K through 8. It's called Vegas Strong Start Academy, and it's running out of our community center. So at the East Las Vegas Community Center and at Stupak Community Center, we are, adhering to all the guidelines. We take all of the kids' temperatures every morning before they come in. They have to wear their face masks. Everybody's watching their social distance. So we're following the 3 W's. And we are also offering for families who qualify. There's basically a scholarship opportunity for their kids to be part of the Strong Start Academy and, the Vegas Strong Academy. And we basically help the parents making sure that their kids are connected to their school day while they should be. They get to play, they get to have assistance by the folks that are there for the program. And so I think it's a great opportunity for folks who live within the city limits that need that support to go to the nearest community center to them and inquire if there's still space. And last I heard, they had not been completely booked. Their programming hadn't, and we still had slots available to our kiddos. So know that does offer a lot, I think, of peace of mind for single moms and single dads that may not have the luxury like I do of leaving my son at home with mostly my husband because he's working from home too. So know that we do have that support in place. And then another thing that we're doing as a city to help during these times is we're putting in different community spaces what we're calling community navigators. And this is to help people with distance learning questions, with housing assistance questions. Maybe they have fallen behind on their rent payments or their mortgage payments. They might have healthcare needs or COVID-19 related questions. They might not know that our pre-K mobile unit is still going strong. And they might want to know what opportunities are being afforded in terms of early education, food assistance, and workforce and employment opportunities. Those that are not employed and want to get back into another job, we're also trying to connect them to the resources that are out there in terms of jobs. So if you would like the assistance and the help of our community navigators, we're here to help everyone that calls into the line. And the number is 702-229-5277. And all those areas that I just touched on, that community navigator will be there. And I've made it a point, and I've stressed it, that we need bilingual navigators. And so whether you speak English or Español, va a haber alguien en esa línea para ayudarles. Y esto es asistencia con preguntas para comida, ayuda para su renta, preguntas acerca de la educación virtual, de cuestiones de salud o también de aprendizaje temprana, nuestros niños que necesitan preescolar, y también los empleos. Si alguien necesita ayuda conectándose con un empleo, también los navegadores de la comunidad les van a poder ayudar y van a estar en diferentes puntos, no solo en nuestros centros comunitarios, pero por ejemplo va a haber un navegador en la Casa del Migrante que está en el centro de Rafael Rivera.
Oh, wow. Hay mucha ayuda y mucha información disponible para nuestra comunidad. Por eso quería invitarte para que hicieras el programa con nosotros, porque hay mucha información que las personas no saben y no saben dónde acudir para encontrar esa información. O muchas veces en nuestra comunidad nos da vergüenza también pedir ayuda.
Sí, dice mi mamá, el pedir no empobrece. Así es que nosotros en estos tiempos tenemos que aprender la humildad y a no tener pena. Lo que tenemos que hacer es ser las personas adultas en nuestra existencia cotidiana, y si nuestra familia necesita la ayuda, vamos a pedir la ayuda, porque hay muchos lugares que nos la está ofreciendo y no hay que tener, como dice Cindy, esa vergüenza de pedir la información. Si no sabemos, hay que preguntar a alguien que nos puede dar la orientación y la información.
Y mucha de esta ayuda está disponible también para las personas que son indocumentadas.
Correcto. Usualmente no se les pide nada de ese tipo. Sé que en el Connecting Kids, por ejemplo, en un inicio sí se les estaba pidiendo, pero no se tienen que sentir estresados. Si se les pide el seguro social, simple y sencillamente lo hacen por protocolo, porque tienen que saber a qué número van a establecer la cuenta. Tienen que tener un dato para conectarlos a ustedes, ¿no? Pero no es de que si no lo tiene se le va a excluir. Hay otra manera que ellos pueden integrarlo al programa sin rechazarlo, pero no hay que tener pudor, no hay que tener temor. Simple y sencillamente se dice no tengo y ya van a proceder con el otro paso a pedirle otro dato.
Thank you so much. That's really great information. There's so many, I feel like I'm connected, through social media, and I'm always trying to stay on top of everything that's going on, because I am like the resource person for my neighbors. My neighbors, for the most part, sometimes they'll text me and they'll ask me, hey, do you know where I can find help with this or whatever? And I give them the information, but there's just so much more stuff out there that I wasn't aware of. And I really appreciate that you took the time to come speak with us. But I wanted to ask you, do you have any final thoughts or any final suggestions for our parents out there?
Just to stay the course and stay engaged. We just started the school year, and sometimes we think that the older our kids, the more independent they are and the less they need us. But actually, it's the opposite. The more they're growing up, the more they need us to make sure that we're checking in, that we're being supportive, and that they know that they matter as well. Because sometimes all of our attention goes to the youngest children, but our oldest need equal attention and equal support, and they need to feel that we know that these are very difficult times, that these are very different times, and to just stay the course and make sure that we're saying, hey, what did you learn today? What's the best thing that happened during your school day? Because I think that bridge between the home and the school is super important, so that our kids know that it makes you as a parent proud because they're doing well, or they know that there's a purpose behind them going to school, that it's not just a check the box, I went, or check the box, I just listened, but that the more that they stay the course and they shoot for the stars and they continue their education, the more they're going to be able to work the job of their dreams, right? We know that there's so many jobs that are going tech. They're going to need high computer skills. You're going to have to know a little bit about that technology innovation space. And so I hope that our youth stay the course, because we need them to have the jobs and the leadership roles of tomorrow. And diversity and representation is so important. So regardless of what your ethnic background is, where you come from, this country continues to be the land of opportunities if we work hard for it. And I hope that every parent helps stress that to their child, and for the child not to become just disillusioned or check out of school, because I know that education is the greatest equalizer, and it will do miracles for your kid, for your family, just if we stay the course. And that's why this area here, education, is so passionate to me, because I know that I come from a working class family, and I've been able to make it all the way to this role as a city council person because of my education, and because I, stayed the course, made sure I continued and I didn't stop. And I think it's equally important and relevant for our kids coming through. I think now more than ever.
Yeah, it really is important. And I know in our community, the parents are supportive, and they may feel a little bit overwhelmed because of the technology. I was having that conversation with my mom earlier today, actually, and she said, wow, if I had a kid, if you guys were young right now going through that, I don't know what I would do. Because she has an iPhone, but for the most part, she just uses it to play some games and send text messages, but that's about it. She jokes around about how my son will probably know more than her when it comes to technology in like 2 or 3 years. But
as a mother of a 9-year-old, it's true. My son knows so much more about my own phone than me. But I think that's something we shouldn't shy away from. We should try to learn from our kids too. Sometimes we feel as a parent that we need to teach our kids everything, but there's so much that we can learn from our kids too. And I think just having that open mind and knowing that, take this opportunity to learn more about laptops and Chromebooks and different media platforms that your kids use. And that's adding value to you too, because you're staying more current as well. And the skill set is, learning something new every day is never going to be out of style. Like every day there's something else that we could be just equipping ourselves with.
Yeah, and I think it's important to learn something new every day, whether it's something small or something big. I think it helps us overall.
And I think the kids will feel even more confident if they see that the parents are learning from them, and they're like, oh, wow, my mom didn't know that, or my dad didn't know that. That's pretty cool. And you'll be amazed too. You really get to know the personality of your kid. I know I've seen a lot more dimension into my own child, because sometimes during normal times we drop them off at school, they're at school all day, then we pick them up, and so we just see them for these windows, right, from getting up in the morning to dropping off, and then from picking up to dinner. But sometimes they show you other talents they have that you never really picked up on because you don't get to spend as much time. So that's one thing I am valuing during these COVID times, is really getting to see more of the different hues and tones in my own child, and taking these times to heart, because we won't always have them. They grow up so fast.
Yeah, they do. Mine is only 3 years old, but already I can see his little personality developing. And if anything, with COVID, I am spending a lot more time with him, and I am appreciating spending more time with him versus in the past where I would just drop him off with my mom in the morning and I'd pick him up in the evening and and have dinner and it's bedtime before you know it. But during this COVID time, I have been able to have more time with him. And while I did not enroll him in pre-K, I am taking some time to teaching him his colors and numbers and the alphabet, and he's learning.
Just talking and reading to him every day, you're growing his vocabulary. That's what they need to have a good start in their pre-K. So you're doing that, you're conversing with them, and you're asking him things, and you're piquing that, you're actually making sure that curiosity is developing and fostered. Your kid's going to be fine. Mine didn't start till 4, and he's doing fine.
Yeah, I figure things happen for a reason, and I am enjoying more time with him, whereas, I wouldn't have as much time with him normally.
Así es que ven, hay cosas positivas que sale del COVID. El tiempo con nuestros hijos es tiempo sagrado, no siempre los vamos a tener en casa. Y aprender más de sus personalidades, de sus aptitudes, y también retarlos a hacer cosas diferentes y a integrarlos a que hagan un poquito más como una familia. Creo que todo va a ser positivo y nos va a ayudar al paso de los años.
Sí, I agree with you. This time, spending more time with family is important, and I think that's one of the more positive aspects of COVID. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and sharing your experiences and sharing all that information. And I hope we can do this again sometime soon, Councilwoman.
Anytime. Thank you so much for having me on today. And we're here too, as you're one of my residents, one of my constituents. If you ever get a question where you're stumped and your neighbors reach out and you may not know what's being offered in the space, please reach out to our office. We're here to serve everybody and to really make sure that our community is up and going and has everything they need to be successful. Because I know that is so important for the health and the prosperity and the harmony of our neighborhoods.
It really is. Thank you so much, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Muchas gracias. Hasta pronto. Espero que nos veamos pronto.
Bye.